In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
The Indiana Fever were on fire. They steamrolled Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. They outclassed the Minnesota Lynx to claim their first Commissioner's Cup title. They obliterated Aja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. 3 wins in a row. The hype was real. Everyone assumed they'd cruise past the Los Angeles Sparks, even without Caitlin Clark. The Sparks are arguably one of the weakest teams in the WNBA, but what followed was infuriating. The officiating was so atrocious that Stephanie White could only utter 5 words that exposed everything broken in this league.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half, and I have everything.
The Fever entered this game without their brightest star, but no one saw what was coming. Caitlin Clark was out with a left groin injury. It was her 5th consecutive game on the sidelines. The team's whole offensive rhythm hinges on Clark's ability to create plays. Without her passing instincts and scoring danger, the Fever transformed into an entirely different squad.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It really is a day-to-day thing. And I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. It's anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer, and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So, we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
But that wasn't the end of it. Damiris Dantas was away representing her country in the FIBA America. Her absence forced the Fever to reshuffle their rotations. They lost a vital contributor who offered both size and veteran presence off the bench. Then came the bombshell. DeWanna Bonner had quit the team entirely. 3 critical pieces gone in one brutal stretch. Now here's where things got wild. Even with all those setbacks, the Fever were still overwhelming favorites. ESPN's matchup predictor gave them a 72.9% chance to win. MGM had them favored by 6.5 points. Everyone believed their remaining firepower would be more than enough. It made sense. The Sparks are undeniably one of the WNBA's worst teams. They've struggled from the start. The Fever were fresh off an epic 3-game win streak. Aaliyah Boston was on fire. Kelsey Mitchell was emerging as a true leader. The team's chemistry looked rock solid during those dominant wins.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell. Not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2. It's good recognition.
But something was simmering under the surface. Without Clark, the Fever's pace had dropped off a cliff. The ball wasn't zipping around with the same intensity. Boston wasn't seeing enough touches to take over in the paint the way she's capable of. The offensive rhythm that thrived under Clark's direction began to unravel. Sure, the Fever still had multiple players with all-star potential. Meanwhile, the Sparks were barely staying afloat on most nights. How on earth could Indiana lose this game?
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP-type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? Phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul.
The expectations couldn't have been higher. Everyone assumed sheer talent would make up for the missing pieces. The Fever had already shown they could win when it mattered. They still had championship-caliber players on the floor. The Sparks were expected to be easy pickings for a team with Indiana's remaining arsenal. But this perfect storm of absences set the stage for a meltdown. The chemistry that had looked so tight during their win streak was anchored by Clark's leadership. Without her orchestrating the offense, the cracks began to appear. Role players who thrived in clear roles were suddenly asked to do too much. The pressure mounted fast as the game opened, with all these setbacks dragging them down.
What does it take to get a team to be more consistent, especially from you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. There's always got to be a high attention to knowing personnel. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of practice time, and so going over a lot of their sets, which you do. But at the end of the day, making sure we know our personnel, who we're going to run off the three-point line, what we're willing to give up. We've got to make sure that there's a high attention to detail there.
Even with the team stumbling, 3 players flat out refused to let the Fever collapse without a battle. Aaliyah Boston was an absolute force in the paint from start to finish. She racked up 23 points and 12 rebounds in a performance worthy of a win. Boston hit 9 of her 17 shots and sank 5 of 7 from the line. When it mattered most, she finally got the ball and reminded everyone why she's such a dominant, one-of-a-kind talent.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound, rolls it in and a foul. The 2 bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace? That burst like a guard gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell rose to the occasion in Clark's absence. She poured in 19 points and drilled 3 clutch three-pointers when the team was starving for offense. Mitchell also hit a major career milestone, appearing in her 251st game for the Fever, second only to Tamika Catchings in franchise history. Her leadership was on full display all night, keeping Indiana in the fight against a team they were expected to beat handily.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes!
But there was more. Natasha Howard brought her veteran savvy and completely torched the scoreboard. She racked up 21 points and 9 rebounds, nearly securing a double-double. Howard was lights out, hitting 8 of 11 from the floor, including 1 of 2 from deep. She sank 4 of 6 free throws and delivered critical buckets on both ends of the floor when the team needed them most.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone. Answers with a 3.
These 3 players shouldered the entire team, delivering championship-caliber numbers against a squad expected to crumble under pressure. Boston ruled the paint like the true all-star she is. Mitchell drained clutch shots that kept the Fever within reach. Howard's seasoned instincts sparked plays younger players simply can't pull off. Imagine this: Boston dominating inside, Mitchell sinking shots from all over, and Howard orchestrating veteran moves that kept hope alive. The comeback was within grasp. The crowd could feel it, momentum swinging unmistakably toward Indiana.
Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They said she'd transform the game. They sold her as the spark of a new era. But no one mentioned the league might fight back. In just a handful of games, Caitlin Clark's rise from the WNBA's golden girl to its most targeted player has been nothing short of jarring.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Bullets has emerged. How Caitlin Clark got hurt.
Fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
And it wasn't just the opposing teams. This wasn't some typical rookie learning curve. What played out felt far more intentional and far more threatening.
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
Game after game, Caitlin absorbed the blows, knocked down, roughed up, and forced to battle through a storm of silence from the officials. The referees, tasked with keeping the game honest, looked more like bystanders in a poorly scripted scene. What began as scattered oversights soon morphed into a full-blown crisis of neglect, with obvious fouls ignored as Clark repeatedly crashed to the floor.
Felines head coach Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then came the moment everyone feared. Caitlin, benched with a quad injury. And just like that, fans began rewinding the tape. Every uncalled foul, every punishing hit that slipped by, every desperate look she shot at the refs, pleading for a whistle that never came.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled them.
It stopped looking like chance. It started looking like a plan. And just as the uproar hit full volume, boom, new reports dropped, exposing the cracks in an officiating system more broken than anyone dared to admit.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp.
Turns out, a surprising number of the league's referees came straight from high school courts. And they're not even making calls based on instinct or experience. Instead, there's a hidden council, GMs, coaches, league insiders, quietly steering how rough the game should get, leaving officials to follow orders instead of the rule book.
The referees are not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And Caitlin Clark? She's trapped right at the center of a storm where power, pride, and profit all crash together. Now, after weeks of mounting fury, viral clips lighting up every feed, and even insiders breaking their silence, the WNBA is finally starting to sweat.
If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
With whispers of lawsuits and rumors swirling about referee bias, the league's golden star could quickly turn into its greatest risk, unless they move fast. And here's the million-dollar question. How far will they go to silence the very player they've been profiting from since day one?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark has never been one to shy away from a challenge. At Iowa, she shattered records, drew in millions of fans, and transformed women's basketball into must-watch prime time. So when she entered the WNBA, the anticipation was electric, not just for her play, but for the surge of energy she promised to bring to a league desperate for a breakthrough.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
And for a moment, it felt like everything was clicking. Crowds swelled, TV numbers soared to new heights. But rather than welcoming her with open arms, the league greeted Clark with elbows, cold shoulders, and outright hostility from the very start.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out At least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas, draw ratings?
From the instant she stepped onto the pro court, it became clear this was more than just a game. It was personal. Every matchup turned into a battle zone. Defenders weren't merely guarding her. They were throwing elbows like it was UFC night. She faced relentless full-court pressure, off-ball grabs, and hits that belonged on a rugby field, not a basketball court. And the refs? Nowhere in sight. Fouls that would have drawn whistles for any other star were shrugged off when it came to Clark. Time after time, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and power through.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
All the while, the league pushed the same worn-out excuse. She just needs to adjust. But why is the burden always on her to change? Why is Caitlin Clark the only star expected to toughen up while others are shielded like royalty? Then came the injury. After grinding through monster minutes night after night, sometimes over 35, Caitlin was sidelined with a left quad strain, out for at least 2 weeks.
Said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
It wasn't just a setback, it was a gut punch to Indiana Fever and a huge blow to the entire WNBA. For countless fans, it didn't feel like a random injury. It felt like the cost of neglect, the inevitable fallout from a season of unchecked aggression and a league that failed to protect the one player keeping the spotlight burning bright.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out for a minimum of 2 weeks.
This wasn't some cruel twist of fate. It was a disaster waiting to happen, one that could have been avoided. What made it hurt even more? The deafening silence. The league stayed quiet, never acknowledging the relentless beatings Caitlin Clark had been forced to endure.
It's the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue may be a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching, never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team?
No statements, no apologies, just another name on the injury list. But this wasn't just any name. This was the face of the WNBA's new era, sidelined not because she couldn't handle the pressure, but because the very system designed to protect her turned its back instead.
But if you know me, you know I'm not afraid to say I can do better. I am sorry that my message was in the heat of the moment, because when I initially spoke on the topic, it really came from a place of care. I totally recognize that it may have impacted fans in a way that I did not intend, and I am sorry.
This is the moment that we've been waiting for in women's basketball. It's way bigger than that. This is the moment.
Women's basketball is blazing. Packed arenas, shattered ratings, and a wave of new fans. But off the court, a storm is brewing. It all blew up on ESPN when Chiny Ogwumike smirked at Kelsey Mitchell. Everyone thought Mitchell would chuckle, shrug it off, keep it light. She didn't. She locked in, stared ahead, and fired back with truth, not drama.
Maybe I'll start with you, Kels, because Lord Jesus, your team and their fans, they be getting up in everybody's business.
And in that moment, everything flipped, because this wasn't just casual banter. It was a line in the sand. Media spin versus lived truth. Gatekeepers versus disruptors. This wasn't sass, it was a reckoning. To outsiders, the ESPN line might have seemed like playful chatter, but Fever fans caught the sting. It wasn't a joke, it was a jab. Another signal Indiana wasn't supposed to thrive. But Kelsey Mitchell didn't blink. She stood tall and said what others wouldn't. Caitlin Clark changed everything.
I think I've seen both sides of it. From one, like being on a team with like Caitlin and knowing that some of the stuff and the wave that she created for like the shift in moments in Indiana, period, as far as like the arena.
That single line shattered the media's polished script. For 7 tough seasons, Mitchell stayed true, through defeats, through heartbreak, and through losing her father in 2023. Now that the spotlight's here at last, she's not stepping aside. Not for ESPN, not for anyone. Kelsey Mitchell had every reason to leave. While other stars chased rings in Vegas or LA, she chose Indiana. Season after season, loss after loss. No glam, no buzz, just heart. She played through silence in the stands. She played through pain, her father's death just before 2023, and never said a word.
Being on a team with like Caitlin, the big moment is seeing the shift and being a part of it from a standpoint that I know where Indiana was. And so to see the cultivation of it, you just grow to appreciate the process and, you know, the growth in which the game is going.
Now, with the fever finally climbing, the media paints her as a sidekick, like she hasn't been the backbone of this franchise for nearly 10 years. Nope, Mitchell's no backup. She's the blueprint.
Congratulations, Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
And the fact that she's shining now without ever jumping teams or chasing clout is exactly why fans are backing her hard. Because this isn't just hoops. It's loyalty, struggle, and finally, redemption.
Someone on and off the floor, like she's just been a voice that's been there. She's been through this league for 7 years now. Like she knows what to expect. She knows how things are gonna go. And I think more than anything, like we are just starting to understand each other much better. Like we could just make eye contact and she knows to go back door. She knows to come and get the ball. Like that just comes with playing with one another. So it's been a lot of fun for me. I mean, she's playing so well right now, just as good as anybody in this league. So I feel very lucky and fortunate to have her by my side.
When Kelsey Mitchell said, "The rise of women's basketball has a lot to do with Caitlin Clark," everything shifted. The energy changed. Chinese smirk vanished. Producers probably froze behind the scenes. Because that wasn't just praise. It was a statement. For months, ESPN and league insiders stuck to the same line. It's not just one player. But Mitchell ripped that script in half live on air. No shouting, no theatrics, just truth. And that truth hit harder than any viral moment. Mitchell wasn't backing Clark out of loyalty. She was backing reality. The sold-out crowds, the surging viewership, the wave of new fans. This wasn't hype. It was fact. And when Mitchell dropped it, the balance of power changed forever.
Kelsey Mitchell on the left, of course, Caitlin Clark on the right, the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year. And boy, what a summer it was, Quinn, with the fever here.
Caitlin Clark didn't chase the spotlight. She became it. Sold out arenas, record jersey sales, a $28 million Nike deal. She shook the league before even settling in. But instead of celebrating her rise, the media flinched. ESPN downplayed it. Former players threw shade. Why? Because Clark wasn't their pick. She didn't come through the old system. She just showed up and changed the game. Even worse for them, she brought an army, teen girls, dads, grandpas who'd never watched the WNBA. Clark didn't just rise. She revealed what the league had been missing. On paper, they're opposites. Mitchell's the veteran bucket getter. Clark's the floor general. But together, they're a problem. The league wants drama, beef, feuds. Mitchell and Clark, all wins, no noise, no ego, just elite hoops. When the media pushed division, Mitchell backed Clark. When Clark hit bumps, Mitchell picked her up. When Mitchell went off, Clark gave her shine. They don't fit the script, and that's what rattles the league. The WNBA prayed for this. Mainstream buzz, packed stadiums, global hype. Clark delivered. But instead of riding the wave, the gatekeepers got nervous. Analysts parroted, "It's not one player." ESPN tried to spread credit to preserve old narratives. Why? Because they didn't build this. And if Clark keeps rising, it proves they couldn't. Now the same voices who begged for a savior are minimizing the one they got. And fans, they're done pretending. Mitchell saw through it. She spoke truth. And that truth cut deeper than any ESPN segment ever could. The fever used to be invisible. Empty seats, lousy records, forgotten, except by Kelsey Mitchell. Now, They're the team nobody wants to face. Clark's court vision, Mitchell's scoring clinic, a hungry, gritty roster. This isn't a super team. It's a statement, and the league never saw it coming. While ESPN spins rivalries, the Fever are showing what real chemistry looks like. While commentators debate narratives, Indiana just stacks W's. This isn't hype, it's a takeover, with or without media blessing. So who's the MVP? Mitchell, the loyal warrior who never bailed? Clark, the phenom who lit the fuse? Or the synergy between them that's flipping the whole script? Because let's be clear, the Fever aren't just making noise, they're seizing control. Every time Clark gets slighted, Mitchell fires back. Every time analysts sleep, Indiana goes louder. This isn't a hot run, this is a rebellion. The only question now isn't whether Mitchell and Clark can lead, it's whether the league is ready for the shockwave they've started. If you're rocking with the Fever, smash that like, drop your MVP pick in the comments, and hit subscribe, because this ride, it's only heating up.
I have yet to see a single example of Angel Reese being a leader. Outside of rebounding her own missed layups, what does Angel Reese do? What is her contribution? You tell me, because I'm not seeing it. I know I'm harsh on Angel Reese, but she considers herself a star. If you're going to call yourself a star, I expect you to perform like a star, especially in big moments. Caitlin Clark was injured. Angel Reese was the only star on the court last night, and for 27 minutes, she completely disappeared.
Angel Reese just suffered the most humiliating moment of her career in front of a packed house and primetime viewers. She scored a mere 4 points on 2 of 7 shots, as the Indiana Fever crushed the Chicago Sky by 27. But here's the kicker. The Fever played without Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, or even their head coach. And the moment that truly shattered Reese's confidence? We'll break it down in this video. Caitlin Clark pulled off a live TV move that completely put Reese in her place.
Well, there's a lot of reaction coming in from last night's drubbing, destruction, annihilation, cremation, whatever you want to call it, roasting, sauteed, whatever your form of cooking may be. But the Indiana Fever absolutely dismantled the Chicago Sky.
You know a player isn't a true draw when tickets to their game drop to the price of a gas station candy bar. This United Center showdown was supposed to be Angel Reese's chance to prove she could pull in crowds and viewers without Caitlin Clark stealing the spotlight. All season, the Chicago Sky pushed the story that Reese was just as much of a box office star as Clark, that fans showed up to watch her shine too.
Angel Reese is now quoted as saying, "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person." She refuses to say Caitlin Clark's name. "It's because of me too, and I want you to realize that."
Then reality hit like a freight train. Once Caitlin Clark was ruled out with her quad injury, ticket prices crashed from premium to just $3. $3. You can't even grab a decent coffee for that. Yet, that's what people were willing to pay to watch Angel Reese at the United Center. This wasn't a small dip. Tickets once priced for a marquee WNBA showdown suddenly tanked. The moment Clark's absence was official, the secondary market collapsed. Scalpers couldn't give tickets away, and fans who'd been hyped lost all interest. Now, it's crystal clear. There's only one true star.
Last night was somewhat of a big moment for Angel Reese and the Chicago Bravado. For starters, the WNBA moved the game out of the local dump the Bravado usually play in and relocated to the United Center, which is the largest arena in the NBA, holding over 20,000 people. Now, to their credit, there seemed to be a good crowd in the United Center last night. I had someone who was at the game send me a few pictures, and most sections seemed to be filled. It wasn't a sellout, but there was supposedly over 19,000 people in attendance. Of course, It's easier to draw a decent crowd when tickets are selling for $3 hours before the game starts.
Social media told the full story. Fans flooded timelines with screenshots of $3 tickets, peppered with laughing emojis, joking they could take their whole family to the game for less than parking costs. The hype around this United Center showdown deflated faster than a punctured basketball. Let's be real, this was Chicago's big moment to shine. The Sky kept claiming Reese had her own fan base, was must-watch TV, the main draw. But when it came down to it, with Clark missing, the market spoke loud and clear about who fans really wanted to see.
What an outfit Angel Reese was rocking. She put a lot of time, a lot of effort into making sure her ensemble was on point. Are my boots matching my jacket? Are my gloves matching my hat? Angel Reese put in tons of time for this outfit, which begs the question, does Angel Reese put in more time in her outfits for the pre-game catwalk, or does she put in more time to actually get better at the game?
Compare that to past games where Clark's presence packed the arena with sellout crowds. Fans lined up hours early just to catch a glimpse of Clark warming up. The difference couldn't have been more glaring.
Angel Reese, part 38, let's get it! Life throws her lemons, she makes bricks. Bang! PSA to anyone watching, she is right-handed. Right-handed, by the way. She missed the rim by 3 feet, man. Bang! I gotta say, this is my favorite summer sitcom. Pecan? Butter pecan? Bang! Here's a stat. She's been blocked 20 times, and she's only made 21 hoops. What?
Even Chicago Sky fans lost interest without the Clark matchup to hype. The game's energy shifted from electric anticipation to resigned obligation. Fans who planned watch parties suddenly made other Friday night plans. This ticket price disaster was just the start of Angel Reese's worst nightmare unfolding on the biggest stage. Those $3 tickets perfectly foreshadowed the kind of performance Chicago's supposed superstar was about to deliver.
This might have been the first WNBA game broadcast on CBS in prime time. If it's not the first, it's one of very few. This was a big moment. I'm sure the WNBA would call it historic. Angel Reese is playing in an NBA arena in prime time on network television on Saturday night. Outside of regular season baseball, maybe the College World Series, there was no competition on television. The eyes of the sports world were focused on Angel Reese and the WNBA. And Angel Reese once again proved why no one is watching her.
4 points on 2 of 7 shooting in 27 minutes on primetime TV. That's how you ruin your reputation live and loud. The United Center hosted its first ever WNBA game, with CBS clearing prime time and a sold-out crowd filling the NBA's biggest arena expecting fireworks. Instead, they witnessed Angel Reese deliver what analysts labeled a disaster class and a total meltdown on the sport's grandest stage.
Caitlin Clark is averaging more assists per game than Angel Reese is averaging points per game this season. Yeah. 9.3 points per assists per game. 9.3 assists per game. Let me just bring it up. To 9.1 points per game.
Let's break down just how brutal this performance was. Reese scored only 4 points, missing 5 of 7 shots, including 2 cringe-worthy layups that made the crowd groan. One attempt was completely blocked, and the cameras captured every flicker of her visible frustration as the game slipped away. For someone hyped as Chicago's superstar and box office draw, this stat line was downright savage.
Another diabolical stat. She's 19 of 59 from less than 5 feet away. How about that, man? Dang! She should work at housekeeping for hotels because she could turn it over quickly. Lost by 27, scored only 4 points against the Indiana Fever. I mentioned no Caitlin Clark, no problem, give and go. Like a given no shot of working. Bang!
You prefer car or plane?
Car or plane for what? for how you want to travel. That's too many steps, and you can't do that.
But here's what truly broke the game wide open. Reese. Out there, she looked utterly lost. Every move seemed clouded by doubt. Every decision a step into uncertainty. The weight of the moment crushed her, and Indiana's defense tore through her composure like a storm. The cameras caught it all. The frustrated shakes of her head, the silent disappointment etched on her face as shot after shot rattled off the rim. This wasn't just a bad game. This was a moment of unraveling, and the story was impossible to ignore. The WNBA is teetering on the edge of self-destruction, with its brightest star, Caitlin Clark, reportedly nearing her breaking point as whispers of her exit grow louder by the day. This isn't just rookie hazing, it's a volatile mix of unchecked on-court targeting, a league seething with envy toward the very player who revived its relevance, and a media machine quick to vilify the victim. Now, a bombshell rumor is gaining traction that Clark is plotting a bold departure, a seismic move that could lay bare the WNBA's most toxic truths and leave the league scrambling to recover the spotlight she alone brought back.
WNBA record. This is her second season. And you put the numbers together, that's like 10 seasons. That girl did it in 10 seasons. That means she had one a season. Caitlin Clark is... when Caitlin Clark gets to 10 seasons, she's going to have 100 of these. And y'all can't get a girl her roses. Now, I don't like the fact that she be getting woke because she don't want all these lesbians to be mad at her. At the end of the day, is the woman putting in the work, she's putting in the work.
To understand why Caitlin Clark might even consider leaving, you have to first grasp the jaw-dropping scale of her impact, because the numbers don't just speak, they roar. Before her debut, the WNBA was a niche product clawing for relevance. After she stepped onto the court, it transformed into must-see TV. Clark didn't just boost ratings, she sparked a full-blown economic surge, turning half-empty arenas into sold-out spectacles, not just in Indiana, but everywhere she played. Cities scrambled to move games into NBA-sized venues just to handle the crush of fans desperate to witness her in action, making it clear she didn't join the league, she redefined it.
This is all going according to plan. This is ideal. Caitlin Clark is holding up her end by being awesome and by being a trash-talking jerk on the court. Love it. Her teammates are holding up their end by having her back. The other players in the league are holding up their end by not liking her. Perfect. Couldn't have written a better script. Caitlin is talking trash to this girl's hard fouling her. Her teammate Sophie Cunningham, who got a black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 6, she's like, I will F you guys up. All of it's great, and Caitlin's a killer. 10 out of 10.
Her jersey became the top selling across all sports the moment it dropped, while WNBA viewership on major networks exploded by triple digits. But the most jaw-dropping stat came when Caitlin Clark was briefly sidelined with an injury. League viewership nosedived by a staggering 55%. Let that sink in. One player sits, and more than half the national audience disappears overnight. That's not just star power, that's market domination. Clark wasn't merely part of the league. She was the league, single-handedly driving its economy, filling its arenas, and effectively funding the very players and franchises that now seem to resent her for it.
Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a complete different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
Despite the millions she brought and the spotlight she reignited, Caitlin Clark's welcome to the WNBA felt less like a red carpet and more like a calculated ambush in a back alley. From day one, it was clear that opposing teams had adopted a singular defensive game plan, test how much punishment she could take before breaking. This wasn't gritty basketball, it was a coordinated barrage of hip checks, blindside shoves, and reckless closeouts that flirted with outright assault. The crescendo came with Marina Mabrey's infamous shove, a full-body hit that launched Clark across the court in a move completely unrelated to the play, crystallizing the hostility aimed at the league's biggest draw.
I will say this, when Caitlin Clark was out, they lost 55% of their viewership. So, basically, Caitlin Clark is paying all their salaries.
Pretty much.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can hate her as much as you want, but she's brought in millions of dollars. So you should be kissing her ass.
And that kind of defeated the purpose of Angel Reese's argument that she's like, hey, it's not just Caitlin Clark that is bringing all the viewership to the WNBA. It's like, well, it definitely is. It's like, it kind of proved that with the viewership rating being down, that she significantly increases viewership.
They try so hard to compare her to Caitlin Clark. They try so hard.
It was the kind of hit you'd expect in a hockey rink, not on a basketball court. Yet, through all the blows, what enraged Caitlin Clark's critics the most wasn't how hard she was hit, but how calmly she got back up. No retaliation, no complaints, just a quiet resolve as she dusted herself off and returned to play. Her unshakable composure, instead of being praised as professionalism, was twisted into perceived arrogance, only intensifying the animosity and making the next hit even more vicious. The message was unmistakable. You will not outshine us, and if talent can't stop you, brute force will.
The Fever and Sun hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raked across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the entire WNBA.
But the punishment Caitlin Clark endured on the court was only half the story, because the people responsible for enforcing the rules were eerily absent. As she was hacked, shoved, and slammed like a human piñata, referees stood by as if their whistles had vanished, downgrading blatant cheap shots to common fouls or ignoring them entirely. The message to the league couldn't have been clearer. It's open season. Even more damning was the silence from the WNBA front office, the very institution that should have protected its golden goose. They reacted faster to dress code violations than to the relentless, targeted physical campaign against the face of their brand.
A lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA.
The league's baffling inaction sparked a digital uprising. The Protect Caitlin Clark movement, a fan-led crusade where viewers turned into slow-motion sleuths, dissecting every collision, circling illegal screens, and flooding social media with pleas for a flagrant foul call that never came. It pulled back the curtain on a glaring hypocrisy within the WNBA. They craved her marketing clout, her sold-out arenas, and her record-breaking TV ratings, yet refused to grant her even the basic protections given to any other player. This wasn't just neglect. It felt calculated, a silent green light for the hazing to continue unchecked.
I am sick and tired of the way they are treating my girl, Caitlin Clark. I am here to propose a solution. I think they need an enforcer. You know, someone who comes off the bench to kind of lay the smack down on an opposing team member. I want to get the word out to the Indiana Fever that I am available. I'm ready to identify as whatever I need to in order to get the job. They need someone like me. Why? Because I'm not afraid of any 6-foot tall lesbian. I work out. Now, I have a couple of real good go-to moves in my bag of tricks.
And just when you thought the chaos couldn't get any more absurd, the media entered the fray, not to condemn the violence, but to blame its target. Instead of spotlighting the dangerous hits, a twisted narrative took hold. The attacks were Caitlin Clark's fault. She was too confident. She talked trash. She had it coming. It was a jaw-dropping reversal that defied basic logic, especially in the world of professional sports, a world fueled by swagger, mind games, and competitive fire. Michael Jordan made trash talk an art form. Larry Bird shattered psyches before tip-off. But when Caitlyn did the same, it wasn't seen as greatness. It was used as justification for assault. That's not analysis. That's scapegoating. And if this is how the WNBA treats its biggest star, then maybe the loudest rumor of all, that she's ready to walk, isn't just believable, it's inevitable.